On the evening of March 14th, 2016, a woman named Emily Carter arrived home later than usual. At the time, there was nothing remarkable about that night. Emily lived alone, in a small house, at the end of a quiet street. No nearby woods, no abandoned buildings, just normal houses and normal neighbors. She worked long hours as a medical transcriptionist, and when she pulled into her driveway, everything looked exactly the way it always had. The porch light was on, the windows were dark, and the front door was locked. Emily unlocked the door, stepped inside, and that's when she noticed something was wrong. Not because anything looked disturbed, and not because anything was missing. It was the silence. Her refrigerator usually made a low humming sound. The wall clock in the hallway always ticked loudly. But that night, there was nothing. Emily stood still for a moment, trying to figure out why that felt so unsettling. And that's when she heard it. Footsteps, coming from the second floor. They were slow, deliberate, and moving back and forth. At the time, Emily assumed the only reasonable explanation was that someone had broken into her house. But there was a problem. She hadn't told anyone she would be home late, and no one else had a key. She reached for her phone to call for help, but before she could unlock it, the footsteps stopped. Complete silence. Emily waited, and then she did something that investigators would later find strange. She called out, "Hello?" Her voice echoed up the staircase, but no one answered. Instead, she heard something else. A response. The floor upstairs creaked softly, as if someone had shifted their weight. This is where most people would panic. Emily didn't. She slowly backed toward the front door, unlocked it, stepped outside, and called the police. When officers arrived, they searched the entire house. Upstairs, downstairs, closets, bathrooms, even the attic access. They found nothing. No intruder, no forced entry, no open windows. And once again, the house was completely silent. Police suggested stress, exhaustion, maybe even a misinterpretation of normal house noises. At the time, Emily wanted to believe them, but over the next few weeks, things inside the house began to change. It started subtly. Late at night, after turning off the lights, Emily would hear movement upstairs. Always slow, always careful. And here's the strange part. If Emily stopped walking, the sound stopped too. Almost as if whatever was upstairs was listening. Then came the responses. Emily would cough. A moment later, a soft thud echoed from above. She dropped something in the kitchen. Seconds later, the same sound repeated upstairs. This wasn't random. It was precise. Concerned she was imagining things, Emily decided to record audio on her phone. She wanted proof. Something objective. Something she could listen to later. On April 2nd, at 11:43 p.m., she started recording in her living room. First, she spoke. "Is someone there?" Nothing happened. So she stood up and slowly walked across the room. Her footsteps were clearly captured in the recording. Then, she stopped. 2 seconds later, a second set of footsteps could be heard, matching her exact pace. From directly above her. That was enough. Emily dropped the phone, grabbed her keys, and left the house. She never returned. When police reviewed the recording, they noticed something unsettling. The second set of footsteps didn't sound like they were coming from the second floor. They sounded closer, as if they were inside the walls. The house was eventually sold, renovated, and occupied by a new family. They never reported anything unusual. Emily still has the recording, but she refuses to listen to it anymore, because at the very end, after she runs out the front door, there is a brief pause, and then one final sound, a single footstep, coming from directly behind the phone.